All right, on today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, Andrew Cogliano decides to retire. He only played a little over 2 seasons for the Avs, but he made quite an impact during those 2+ seasons. Let's talk about him. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, and thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche, on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche, on Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. Make sure you are subscribed to our subtext as well. Link to that's in the show notes below. And when you do chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, get your opinion on everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. We'll be hearing from the subtext people quite a bit on today's episode. As you can see, we're going to be talking about Game 7. We won't be having a show tomorrow because if there's a Game 7 and it's the Stanley Cup, we're going to be watching that. So it'll probably end pretty late. Triple overtime, probably.
Quadruple overtime. It's a national holiday. It should be a national holiday.
That would be the best thing. Yeah. I mean, I would love it. It'd be a late ending, but that would be great. We'll get to that a little bit later. And our season grade today is Val Nichushkin. So we'll talk about him. But where we're going, this is a yin and yang episode. It's like good but sad feelings with the Andrew Cogliano retirement. And then there's some feelings to be had, obviously, about Val Nichushkin and kind of bringing some of that stuff back because we're going to his season grade. But we're going to start with Andrew Cogliano. And it was on Friday, right before the weekend, decided to hang him up and retire after 17 years in the league. Traded late in his career to the Avalanche at the deadline. And then he played another 2 full seasons after that. And it's like anywhere he went, his presence was felt, right? He was just that consistency is the name of his game. And he knew what his role was. He was a bottom 6 guy. He played it to perfection. He embraced it. He embraced the penalty kill where he excelled. Wherever he threw his hat into the ring, he was going to excel in that capacity. And he did it. He's not going far. He's sticking with the organization. He's going to be with them doing a number of things by the sound of it. So that's nice that he's not really leaving the organization. But to not have him, I guess he could have come back. I guess he had a conversation with them, and it was really up to him if he wanted to come back. And he decided not to. You can't fault him for saying, everything I put into this game for 17 years, I think my body's telling me no.
Yeah, and it's you got to respect Cogs, like, especially after the season he had last year. And you're looking at what this season's going to be, like we talked about it last week with the rumors about Ross Colton being on the block and all this. You see what this Avalanche season is going to be, and you're just like, after 17 years, it's like I just can't. I'm good. And I found it surprising that he is going to be in the front office. Like, out of all the stops that he's had previously and the duration of time, he chose Colorado, which speaks a lot for what the organization thinks of Cogs and what Cogs thinks of the organization. And when he announced his retirement, it's one of those that you could go through social media, and players from numerous teams were posting his retirement announcement because he's so well respected everywhere he went.
That's the crazy thing. I was noticing that too, is a guy of his caliber, which is just one of those fan favorite guys. He's not on the cover of magazines. He's not leading highlight clips or anything like that. But when it comes to the sport of hockey, guys around the league respect guys like that. And you saw it across the board when he announced it. You saw other players going to their like social media profiles and posting things about him. And because it's not only just like the amount of teams he played for 5 teams, right? So that in and of itself, you're going to come in contact with a lot of teammates when you play that many years, when you play for that many teams. But how he plays, it just people, and you play for that long, people know. And in your style, like people, they pay attention to what's going on around the league, and you just earn the respect of everybody everybody else that's playing in the sport that has retired since he started, that is still playing in the game. Just the respect was just on display across the league. And for a guy who, dude, like, I mean, you look at just, if you go look at his stat, like the numbers aren't what jump out at you in terms of like points and assists and stuff like that. Clearly, it's not his game. Cale Makar, if Cale Makar has a good season and a quarter, he's probably going to pass him in total points. But that's not what you get out of Andrew Cogliano. His best season points wise was his rookie year when he scored 45 points. He never matched that after that. And I read an article, I think it was on The Athletic, when he came in. I think when a lot of guys come in, especially around when he did, that's on their mind, right? If I'm a forward, I want to be a scorer. He had a pretty good rookie season. And I guess a coach on Edmonton came to him and be like, you're not good enough to continue to increase your point production year after year. And instead of kind of like punching that guy in the face, he was just like, all right, what do I need to do to stay in this league? And he told him, you need to be a grunt guy. You need to embrace the penalty kill and, embrace the dirty areas. So he tailored his game after that. And look what happened. Yeah, and it's amazing the way he plays. You look at his career stats. The first 5 years of his career, didn't miss a game. 82 games. In fact, he only missed 27 games out of 17 seasons. That's a game and a half per year. That's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And it speaks to Cogliano missing as few games as he did. And I think the big example of Cogs and what he brings to the game and this respect that he's going to also earn in this front office role. He was on this team for a short amount of time. And Ryan Johansson also was on this team this year with just as much of a resume in playing in the league. And when Cogs came into this team, you could see him in optional practices. When guys were coming back from injury, Cogs was usually out there. And when Ryan Johansson came in, it was, I'm going to play my style.
Well, for me, Kyle, like, I think the fact that he is hanging him up now speaks volumes to him just feeling like he knows what it takes to play a full season. And I think he wanted it to be on his terms. He knows how he plays the game. He's gonna get banged up. It's just going to happen. So maybe it was something where it's like it's taking him longer than he wants to recover from some of these injuries, even though he was right back out there. Yeah. And with guys like him, it's like you and I don't like that I do this with some guys, but when you hear like during a game, oh, Andrew Cogliano looked like he was dinged up there, it just goes in one ear and out the other. And it's like, oh, he'll be back out there. I don't like that I do that but for him, it was true. Dude broke his neck and he went back out there and he didn't know till the next day that it was broken. So I think he would rather do it on his terms, not have an injury during the season that he somehow can't recover from. The way that he plays to get 17 seasons is a minor miracle. And I think he just said, like, I want to make this decision on my own terms. And I know what it takes to do a full season. And I'm on a team that probably makes the playoffs. That's a whole nother season after that. Which sure, I'd love to go for another cup, but man, like 17 years, had a good run, got a cup under my belt. What else do I need to do? Let's wear a suit every day. Okay.
Yeah, and Cogs is at this point in his career where after breaking his neck, 17 years, like it takes longer to heal back up. And when you wake up in the morning and you're like, you know what, I think I'm going to be, when you mentioned, like, he asked, what do I do to be a part of this team and stay in the league? He's probably looking at himself in the mirror like, I don't know if I'm going to be helping this team next year or if I'm just going to be just kind of coasting around because I don't think I could be there because it's taking so long to heal up. And breaking your neck is not something that you could just come right back from if it's your rookie year or 17 years in the league. So it speaks a lot to him walking away on his own terms and the Avalanche saying, hey, we respect that decision. Here's a job in the front office. Like, and it speaks a lot to his character and for him to say, I know the team will be better with somebody else that you're taking my money and giving him to.
And you kind of alluded to it earlier, saying how, he probably could have had his pick of where he wanted, if he wanted to do this as a profession afterwards. There were other teams probably wanting to, if he was like a free agent, so to speak, on the retirement free agent list, other teams would probably have called and said, "You want to come work for us?" Avalanche got ahead of that, and they were, because that was the last team he played for. They were having communications with him before any other team was, I'm sure, because I'm sure teams would have been lining up. If he didn't take this job with the Avalanche, said like, "Yeah, let me see what else is out there. Maybe go to a different team." The Ducks would have. But
you
like
could be
you
an
said
assistant GM in St. Louis because apparently anybody could.
But you said it, like, he picked the Avs. So what's that? That's that speak to the Avs as an organization where he was just here for a hot minute, really, and he wants to stay with them. So it was great. It's great season. You always root for guys like that, man. Like though, when growing up, the superstars are the superstars. I always looked for guys like Andrew Cogliano that were kind of like buried somewhere, but like stood out at the same time. You just root for guys like that, and he clearly was a fan favorite anywhere he went. So, he's earned the right to hang him up whenever he wants, and I'm glad he's able to do it under his own power and not forced out because of an injury or just his play is lacking or whatever the case may be. Totally his decision. So it was a fun 17 years. It was a good 2+ years in Colorado. Glad we got him a cup, and looking forward to see what he does in the front office. I just wanted to get to a couple of subtext people quickly. Katie says the first hockey game she ever watched happened to be his 1200th game. I watched his post-game interview and instantly loved him. He'll always be special to me as my first favorite player, and I'm going to miss him next season. That's a great first game to go see.
Yeah, and what a great player to latch on to. He's not going to let you down. He's a great guy.
Exactly. And Eric said, Cogs did not have another 82 games in him. Way to go out classy, and we still get him around around the young guys for development. What a win for the Avs organization, kind of like what we were saying. Yep. So
we could see him in altitude broadcasts. Bring it on.
Maybe he'll be in there every once in a while. You never know. So it's widespread, just the love for Cogliano. So all right, that'll put a wrap on that. And like I said, maybe we'll see him on altitude. That'd be fun. He'd probably be good in that role too if you want to go that route too. All right, so that's the good, happy but sad stuff, and then there's maybe bad and sad stuff coming up next, and that is Val Nichushkin and his season grade. We'll get to that right after this. All right, FanDuel, we love sports and we love them so much. We never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down and we get fewer and fewer games, the sports aren't sportsing like we want them to. But FanDuel lets us keep the sports going whenever we want. All we have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime that we are in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That is right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. That's FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, sir.
Getting all the love out of my system.
Yeah. Val Nichushkin season grade. It's not like we were purposely holding out on this one. We just do this alphabetically, and he just happens to fall halfway through the alphabet. So here we are. I gotta say, I don't want to say pleasantly surprised, because I thought the D's and F's would run away with it, and they more or less did. But there was a lot of support for Val in terms of really grades across the board. He got a number of A's, B's, C's, but clearly the D's and F's win out in here. So if you're watching over on YouTube, there's your grades. D's and F's across the board. Kyle with a straight F. I went with a C-, and I will explain why in a little bit, but just to give the percentages. YouTube was 58%, Twitter and X was 55%, Instagram was 41%, which is the lowest. Instagram was really kind of with the A, B's, and C's kind of like evened out a little bit. I think even A had like 22% or something like that on Instagram. Threads was 59%. I kind of figured this was going to happen. This is not like a shock to me at all. Maybe the only surprise was I thought the numbers would be a little bit higher. I thought these were going to be like in the mid 60s to low 70s because, you know, the voices of the people who are really angry and annoyed with Val Nichushkin are loud. And I get it. I understand it. But give me your take and we'll chat about this. Go ahead.
All right. Look, I grew up in the South. We have NASCAR in the South. And guess what happens when you wreck your car in a race? You get a DNF. Did not finish. and my grade is an F, which stands for finish, which Val Nichushkin has not been able to do in the last 2 years. I'm not dumping on the guy. I'm not hating on the guy. This is not a hate thing. This is how he played in the season. Good, bad. You get an F for not finishing the season. This is twice. So I don't know how I can, like, yes, when he played, it was great. Winnipeg series, awesome. But this is 2 years that you left your team high and dry. I know you had everything going on, but this is twice. Yeah. And what do you expect? Like what he does on the ice when he's there is great. And when he strings it together, he's a force to be reckoned with. But he just can't stay on the ice, and that's a problem.
I'm not gonna sit here and tell anybody that, you know, their feelings are invalid for that. I understand, and I'm glad you said, like, you know, this is not a hate thing, because I think a lot of some people voting is, and some other are feeling the way that you are. Like, I just can't give him anything other than that, just because this is 2 years in a row where he has dipped out on the team. That is all valid, and I am not here to discount that, discredit that, anything. I get it. I kind of just I really struggled with this, man. Like, this was maybe like the most difficult grade I had, because I think your initial gut reaction is F. just on the surface, this is just like terrible, and it is. But I kind of wanted to come at it like in a little bit of a different way, because we always get people who like to give us like 2 grades. If they'll vote on the polls, and then they'll shoot like a DM and say like regular season this, postseason this, you know, and that's fine. I get that. We got that more than anybody for Val Nichushkin for regular season and postseason, and I get that, and that's all well and good. But I kind of wanted to come at this from like, yeah, how you said, like, when he is out there, and we saw the record of him or the Avalanche with him and without him. So clearly, like, he's valuable to the team. His value is on the ice. And the Winnipeg series, phenomenal. And when there's something that goes on with a player, we kind of like to say like, hey, you know, this is why I dropped him like a half a letter grade, or this is why I dropped him a full letter grade. And for me, I had to drop him 2 full letter grades because of what happened in the regular season. So if he played the full season, postseason, whatever the case may be, to me, he was an A-. And because of what happened, that I'm kind of, I can't just go straight to F, although I'd be well within my rights to do that. But I don't think I've ever dropped anybody more than like a full letter grade, or risen somebody for a full letter grade for anything. But for him, I got to drop him 2 full ones because of that. So he goes from an A- to a C-, and you have to take all that into account, because it's how much do you want to put his off the ice stuff into the grade. And again, I'm going there. If you want to go, hey, that holds so much more weight than anything he did on the ice, fine. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. But I'm including the stuff he did on the ice, but the stuff off the ice weighs heavily. And you know, I was really struggling between like the D and like a D plus or C-. But I kind of want to still give him credit for what he did on the ice, because what he did on the ice was really good this year. One of the best players on their team this year. So that's why I kind of went that route. And I know people aren't going to agree with that. People are just going to focus in on the end of the year stuff. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But how I'm looking at it is just what he did for the Avs this year was impressive and good until it wasn't. And that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to the racing analogy for a second because everything Val does on the ice is good. That's great. And last year, you invested in that. It was a nice contract, and then he wrecked in the last lap and didn't finish. And guess what happens when you wreck and you don't finish a race? You don't get the money. You don't get the payoff. And all that money you invested goes to nothing. So then this year, same thing. And then he took his time away, and you thought, okay, he's retooling. He's going to be 100%. It's going to be great. And then he comes back, looks great, Winnipeg series, and then Dallas disappears. This is 2 years in a row that your investment, you're walking away with nothing. And it's when he's there and what you're investing in, if it's doing what it's supposed to, it's great. But your results in the last 2 years, you're empty-handed and you have more questions. And every episode that we are going to do until the start of next season is going to be talking about his contract. And it shouldn't be that way. If it was just off his play on the ice, if he stayed on the ice, we would be talking about, I can't wait to see Nichushkin and what he does next year. We won't see that till November. So it has created a lot more problems than the good he does on the ice. That's why it's an F, because everything off the ice is speaking much louder than what he does on the ice.
I think next year, no matter where he is, if it's with the Avalanche or if they come up with some trade for him or if he's playing for another team, I think we're going to see the makeup of Val Nichushkin and how he returns from this. And if it's with the Avs, it's even, that much more pressure on him because it's going to be interesting. The first game back, whenever his first game at Ball Arena is, the reception he gets. I'm kind of interested in that. I think it's going to be a mixed bag. If our vote is anything, it's going to be a mixed bag because there's people out there that are still very supportive of him. And there's people that are very angry with him. So I think you're going to get that, which is odd for an Avalanche player because you play for the Avs, you are supported in this fan base, but he's gone and done something that's never been done before to this fan base. And I think they're going to make their voices heard from it if he comes out there in Avalanche colors. So, but we'll see how he handles that for however long he plays for the Avs, because that would be tough for anybody when you're hearing it from your home fans. So, and I know we're getting into next year already, but that's going to be part of the talking points when it comes to Val Nichushkin. But we'll see how long that disdain lasts. Maybe they just give him a boo shower for the first game and then rally behind him. I don't know, but I know there's some fans that are just throwing in the towel, say I'm done.
And especially because the only things you're hearing coming out in Nichushkin camp are he's probably going to play in the media league. And then he posted something today at time of recording on his socials about some podcast he's going to do in Russia.
I heard about that. I think it's already out and it's like a 2 hour. I don't know if he's on for the full 2 hours, but and it's all in Russian. So I don't.
So what I would like in Russian, English, Pig Latin, whatever it is, I'm sorry. This is what I'm doing under the program where I can't come back until November. Give us something here, Nichushkin, because we're hearing everything else but from you. And if you want the crowd in Ball Arena and the Avs faithful to welcome you back with open arms, we got to hear some kind of what's going on. Where are you? Are you okay? Because it looks like he's on vacation while we're having to put together a team. And it's just because of your contract. It's very, very frustrating right now. And you're losing all the good faith that I have left.
And for a guy who notoriously just does not speak to the media, you're not getting it from him. If this was a guy who was like an outgoing guy, like that was okay talking to media, you probably would have heard something. Maybe even if it was like, I can't talk about it type of stuff, you would have got that. But he doesn't like talking to the media. So it is interesting. I'm sure we'll get some transcripts, hopefully, of what, if anything, he says in this podcast. If they do talk about it, it could be just like a cupcake interview where they just offer him up softballs and they don't mention it at all. I don't know. We'll have to see what comes out of that. But it's a polarizing player right now. There's no doubt about that he is a polarizing player. And right now, it's what happened hasn't worn off for Avalanche fans. Has not worn off, because we're doing this, because we do it alphabetically. So a few weeks have been removed, or even more than a month have been removed since they've been out of we're going on almost 2 months, I think, that they've been out. And it's still there. The hurt is still there for Avs fans, and you can see it in the vote. I get it. So we'll get a quick break in. We'll hear from some subtext people, and then we'll quickly talk about this Game 7 that is going on in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Pretty amazing series going on. We'll just get our take on it. We'll do that coming up next. All right, let's hear from eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance: superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, which is known as what, Mr. Sullivan?
The Nathan McKinnon trilogy.
Yeah, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts that you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home the win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply, and eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, some subtext people on the Nichushkin grade. This is from Easton. Again, when he's on the ice, B+. Not handling his baggage in the postseason, F. I hope he can get the help he needs, but I also hope we don't have to deal with the uncertainty and lack of trust again, and someone they can move. So you heard that a lot. That was kind of a normal saying for most of the people who wrote in.
I don't disagree with any of that.
Marie, she gave him an I for incomplete. So there, I mean, your DNF, you're incomplete. I got a couple of those too. Is it incomplete though? Is that fair? Is that a fair assessment to give it? I mean, I guess it's incomplete because he didn't technically finish the season, but
twice.
Is there not enough? Is there not enough to go on there to give him a grade?
Yeah. What are we grading?
Yeah,
because it's two different guys: the guy on the ice and guy off the ice, and it's night and day.
Yeah, and it's again, how much weight do you want to put on those two things? How much weight do you want to put on his on the ice stuff, which was excellent, and how much weight do you want to put on the off the ice stuff, which clearly hurts the team and is not good for him personally? So,
what's the most recent thing? That's what you get.
Well, and that will weigh heavily on people too. What have you done for me lately is a very real thing, especially in the sports world. So yeah, I get that part of it. Coy says D-. He left his team out to dry again this year. Jack Johnson said it best. He made his choices.
Yep. Absolutely agree.
Yeah. I got a lot of it. A lot of, it was up and down really. Yeah. But most of it was giving you 2 grades. That is what it is. All right. We have something special going on right now in the Stanley Cup final. I hope people are in Avalanche world are watching it. I know there's I have friends that are fans of other teams, and when their team is out, they don't even bother. That's not how especially in the Stanley Cup final. Like, I've watched every minute of this. It even when it was 3-0 Florida, it's not like I shut it off and be like, because I want to see the cup come out. I want to see the cup get passed. So I'm tuning in anyway because I want to see that. If I didn't care about and that's what makes this trophy so just the envy of other sports. You don't do this in other sports. And if it was basketball, if I watched basketball and the Celtics were up 3-0, right? Mm-hmm. I probably wouldn't finish that. I'm like, they're going to win it. And the ceremony is not a big deal. This is. So I've been tuning in just because the only reason I'm really watching is, well, I love the sport. And because the cup is coming out, And then you're getting, now you got 1, 2, 3 games in a row, and holy crap, we got a game 7 here. It's been exciting. This is exactly what the NHL needs at this stage in the game for viewership and getting those fair weather fans. This is going to be exciting game.
And I mean, I don't know how you could unplug and not watch the Stanley Cup, because, and with 82 game series, like season, and you have all this history with all these teams and these players, like you want to go see Erod get a cup, tune in. You want to see McDavid get a cup, tune in. You want to see Evander Kane get a cup, tune in. Corey Perry, tune in. There's so many.
Or Corey Perry lose another one.
Exactly. There's like, everybody on these teams. Like, this is not just, and there's not a lot of, like, other than McDavid, like, there's no disdain for anybody. You're enjoying. There's history in Edmonton. There's not really any history, and this is the beginning of history for Florida. Everything for every kind of sports fan is here. Traditional powerhouse versus the hockey team in Florida. This is everything you want in a game 7. If there was game 7 cornhole, I'd be watching game 7 cornhole. This is what you want. And hockey fans, this is everything you could ask for.
And it's not just, the game 7, every other game was won by the, back and forth. No, this was a 3-0 lead that could get blown.
Yeah.
That in and of itself is a story, right? And a team that's on the verge of winning their first Stanley Cup got a team down 3-0. And it has been just a complete role reversal in these games. Like Florida, I said it going into the Stanley Cup final, I just don't see any team beating Florida. They were playing such good hockey, full 60 minutes of hockey, game in and game out. And it continued for the first 3 games. And then it was like, what happened? And after, even when they lost one game, like, all right, it's very tough to sweep anybody. They'll get back to their game. Edmonton has been on them. And what Connor McDavid is doing, I know you don't like. I'm a fan of the guy. He's just, people, if you weren't alive for Wayne Gretzky, I'm not saying Connor McDavid is Wayne Gretzky, but when all is said and done, he's going to be in that stratosphere. Trust me. And you are going to be able to say you were watching one of the greatest ever play, and he's not even halfway done. So enjoy this guy, because he is going, when it's all said and done, he's going to be up there. And that was, when I was a teenager when Wayne Gretzky was playing, so you just kind of took that for granted. But I'm watching guys like Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar, and through a different lens right now, and being appreciative of going to be all-time players that we're watching right now. And what he's doing in this Stanley Cup final is incredible. He has the Conn Smythe won. Does not matter if they lose this game. It does not matter. He is winning the Conn Smythe. The stuff that he's done just in the Stanley Cup final, let alone the full playoffs, is not been done by anybody in certain aspects. And he's got another game to go where he could rack up another 4 or 5 points. But this is going to be another thing. How do superstars play in game 7? They are held to that standard. We know Nathan McKinnon is not the best in game 7, not all his fault, but you want, when you're a superstar, you want to be known as game 7's where I rise up. So we'll see what he does. This is his first Stanley Cup final. This is his first Stanley Cup game 7, obviously. And so far, every game has been one or the other. They've been so lopsided. So now if both teams come together and they just play this back and forth game, you don't have to fight with the NBA. There's nothing going on. There's nothing going on. Baseball's midseason. People don't watch baseball midseason. I'm kind of kidding. But when it's game 75, 78 of 162 game season, people are going to be like, oh, let me go check out that hockey game. That's game 7. I'm excited to see what the ratings will be. I'm excited just to watch this game. I am excited to see what Connor McDavid can do, because you're watching potentially one of the greatest players to ever play. Enjoy that. Do not take it for granted, people. I know you don't like him, but it doesn't happen all the time.
Doesn't mean I don't enjoy what he does, but hey, I hated Sidney Crosby for over a decade and then respected him towards the end of his career. That's exactly how I'm viewing Connor McDavid. I'm going to hate it until the end of his career and respect it, but you're not wearing
envy.
the right shade of blue.
It's envy. It's
Yeah.
right. I mean, there's got to be some envy there of how good he is. Like, man, like
It's
I hate you because of that.
exactly how I hated Sidney Crosby.
And that is a true thing, though. Like guys in their prime, who are just so good, you tend to just dislike because of it. And then when they get to the end of their career, and maybe they got another run in them, you kind of find yourself rooting for them.
Yep.
I completely understand what you're talking about, but for some reason with McDavid, I'm doing it early. I'm backing that truck up to now. I kind of want the guy to win one. I kind of do. So we'll see where. And again, I wouldn't be upset if Florida wins it. If Florida wins it, good for them. That's their first cup, and go raise it like anybody else does. So it's going to be a good one. What's your pick? Not heart based, mind based. Who is it?
It's mind based.
Okay,
it's Florida, baby. It's gonna be 6-4.
Ooh, high scoring affair.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
Nothing left to lose. Put it all on the line.
Man, if they lose this thing after being that is epic proportions failure. And then we're going to start talking about where this ranks on the biggest collapses in sports history. That's we're not there yet. But if it happens, man, this is going right towards the top. Right towards the top. So we shall see. All right. We're going to be watching this game. So we won't be back for Tuesday. But for Wednesday, we'll have a fresh episode for everybody. Probably talking about however this game ended, among other things. All right. That is going to wrap it up for today, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. It's always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.